Hello everyone and welcome to this Astranti Prescene analysis video series. My name is Tommy Pritchard and I'm a content creator at Astranti, and I'm also the OCS tutor for this sitting, meaning that it's my responsibility to guide you through this Prescene analysis series and make sure that you're all ready for your OCS exams. So before we get started with the analysis, just a little bit about myself. I have written the industry analysis both for the previous OCS sitting and for this OCS case study sitting. I've also worked on some of the mocks and mock debriefs, both in this sitting and in the previous sitting. Outside of case study, I've worked on a wide variety of content, both for CIMA, but also across CMI and CPD, and I also answer student questions over on the Astranti BA1 forum, so you may recognize me from there. But enough about me, let's get on to talking about what this Prescene analysis video series is going to be all about. So I'm going to be going through section by section on the Prescene, and I'm going to be talking you through some of the key points that I'm picking out of the Prescene, picking out the most important topics that relate to the Prescene company and that could come up in the exam. In doing so, I'm going to be referring to some business models. I'm going to be making reference, for example, to SWOT analysis in order to analyze the business's current position and help provide context for your answers in the exam. So I'm going to be covering some likely exam issues, which points in the Prescene I think are likely to come up as themes or questions in the exam or the unseen material to help you guide your revision and make sure that you are really prepared for your exam. I'm also going to be giving some exam hints and tips, which are going to give you the best chance possible to get the score in your exam that you deserve. So that's what this Prescene analysis is going to be all about. Now, once I've done the Prescene analysis, there is also going to be a strategic analysis, and this is going to be, as you may have guessed, all about the company's strategy going forward. We're going to be considering where the company is going, what kind of strategy they are looking to carry out. And this is going to help you to construct your answers in the exam. It's going to give you context. Knowing where the company is heading forward will help you provide recommendations and answer the questions in accordance with the company's future plans. And we're also going to be covering the top 10 issues that I think are most relevant to this sitting of the OCS exam, the issues that are going to have the biggest impact on the Prescene company and that are relevant to the industry as a whole. So that's what this video series is all about. Those are the different parts of the video series. So how is it going to work? Well, as you know, I've already mentioned, we're going to be going through section by section, and I'm going to assume that you have no prior knowledge of the Prescene as I progress through. So there's no need to worry about me missing everything out. I'm going to cover absolutely everything that is relevant to this exam. Now, what I want you to do is read a section yourself, read a section of the Prescene yourself, make your notes on it, and then come back and watch the video and see what points I'm picking out and compare them. This is going to help you to create super detailed notes and analysis of the Prescene company and make sure that you don't miss out anything, because unfortunately, I'm not perfect. There may be some points that I miss out, so it's worth looking at the Prescene yourself as well as watching my analysis. After each section, I will make sure to review each section and go back over the main points that I've raised, the most relevant points that I've considered in my analysis. And once we've covered the full Prescene analysis, this is when we will go into the strategic analysis and the top 10 issues videos, so plenty of content relating to the Prescene to help you make sure that you are absolutely as prepared as you can be for your exam. Now, just some quick notes on the Prescene before we really get into the actual thick of the analysis. The first thing to note is that the aim of the Prescene is to give context behind your answers. It's to understand the role that you're playing in this exam, understand the details about the company that are going to help inform your answers to the questions. It's really important to remember that this case study exam is a case study. And so your answers need to relate, they need to be relevant to the business that the pre-scene is based on. Now, it is really important to note, do not pre-write anything based on the pre-scene. Whilst the pre-scene can give you clues, themes, and questions that may come up in the exam, and I will be talking about these likely themes and questions as I progress through the analysis, you cannot take my word as gospel. The exam is totally unpredictable. We don't know for certain what questions are going to come up. So do not waste your time pre-writing anything before you've actually seen the actual exam. We know that in the exam there is going to be unseen issues that come up, so these are going to be impossible to account for, but if you're armed with the analysis that we've done in this video, you'll have the background required to deal with these unseen issues. And the analysis that we go through, the points that you consider after watching this analysis, these can all be used on the day of the exam to help inform your answers to the questions and make sure that you are writing things that are relevant to the pre-scene company. That's the point that's really, really important. The recommendations that you give in your exam, they need to be consistent with this analysis. They need to be relevant to the company and realistic in terms of things that the company, if it were to exist in the real world, what would it actually be looking to do? What kind of decisions would it be looking to make? What kind of considerations would it have to think about? So that's a little introduction to the video series and the pre-scene itself. Now I'm going to dive straight in to the pre-scene analysis, starting with an introduction, and then we're going to be looking at your role section of the exam. So here we are. This is the OCS case study for the May 2022 and August 2022 sittings. And the pre-scene company, you may already know, is called Meals at Home, and they are a meal kit producing company. And what that is, we will get into in a bit more detail later on in the analysis. So let's scroll down, and before we really get going, we have to consider the COVID-19 statement. This pre-scene and the case study in general, they're set in a context where the COVID-19 pandemic has not had an impact. So it's not worth considering the pandemic in your answers in the exam, although answers that do make relevant references to the pandemic or social distancing, they will be marked on their merits. So probably best to stay away from mentioning COVID-19 and the pandemic. But if you do happen to make a point about COVID, fear not, you're not going to get marked down on that basis. They will give these answers consideration. They will give these answers marks based on their merits. But just a quick note before we really get going, something worth thinking about. So here's the contents page of this pre-scene document. These are all the things that we are going to be running through in this pre-scene analysis, and I'm going to talk you through which videos I'm going to be covering which aspects of the pre-scene. So there are 6 videos in this pre-scene analysis initial series before we get into the strategic analysis and the top 10 issues. So there you go, there's a little key I've put on screen, nicely color coordinated. In this video, video 1, we've done a little introduction and we're going to be going over the your role and the pre-scene introduction sections. In video 2, we've got the extracts from the website. These are the sections titled Why Choose Meals at Home, How to Use Our Subscription Service, What to Expect When You Receive Your Order, and we're also going to be having a look at the company directors. Video 3, we're talking all things operations. We're looking at the company operations, we're looking at sales and distribution, production, as well as looking at the company's internal structure. Going into video 4, we're going to be looking at the meal kit industry. And if you want a full breakdown on this, you should check out the industry analysis video that I've done as part of Astranti's pre-scene content, but we are going to be covering a bit more about the meal kit industry in this pre-scene analysis video series, and in this video we're going to also be looking at the articles that are attached to the pre-scene. Video 5, we're going to be going into everyone's favorite, the financial statements. for the year ending in 2021. We're going to be looking at the implications of these and picking out any notable details from these financial statements. And then in video 6, we're going to finish up by looking at the budget information for the following year, the year ending 2022. And we're also going to have a brief look at the tax regime in Newland. So that is the contents. That's how we're going to be navigating this Prescene analysis video. That's what all of the videos are going to contain. With all of this admin out the way, we're now going to move on to look at the Your Role section of the Prescene. And so, with all that introductory stuff out of the way, it's now time to dive in straight into the actual analyzing of our Prescene documents. And we're going to start right at the beginning with this small Your Role section. And now, when you were first looking through this Prescene document, you may have been tempted to just skim over or skip past this little section at the start. And that's because it reads in a fairly generic way. It doesn't tell you a whole lot of information about the Prescene company. And so you may have thought, well, this isn't really going to impact me. This isn't really going to add any value to my studies. And if you did think this, then you couldn't have been further from the truth. It's really important when you're taking the OCS exam that you remember that it's not just your knowledge that is being tested, but your ability to apply it to a real world situation. And what this section titled Your Role does is tell you what this real world situation is. What is your role within the company? What are your responsibilities that you're going to have to carry out? And what are the kind of people that you're going to be interacting with and reporting to? So let's now take a look at what this section says. So first of all, you are a finance officer and you are working within the finance department of Meals at Home. So we know that they have a finance department, an entire department dedicated to finance. And the fact you're a finance officer gives us an idea of what your role within the company is and what kind of position within the company you are working from. You'll be able to see on screen now the general structure of a finance department. So you have the managing director, the finance director below them, the finance manager below them, and the finance officer below them. So you're going to likely be reporting to a finance manager within this company. And it means that you are going to be focused on producing operational level information. So this is information that tends to be short-term focused in order to help those higher up the chain to construct more long-term strategies and tactics. So you're producing short-term information to help support decision-making, but those decisions will ultimately be made by the managers, by the directors who are higher up the company. And that shouldn't come as a surprise because this is the operational case study. So it's natural that you are going to be producing operational level information. And so that gives you an idea of the kind of perspective that you need to be writing from when you are undertaking this exam. So let's now take a look at this next sentence. So you are principally involved in the preparation of management accounting information, providing information to managers to assist with decision making. So that links back to what we've just discussed. You are providing information to managers for them to make these decisions. You're not necessarily making these decisions yourself because you are operating at an operational level. At times, you are also expected to assist with the preparation of financial statements. So there's your F1 topics coming into that one: preparation of financial statements, financial accounting, and answer queries regarding financial reporting and other financial matters. So those are the kind of responsibilities that you are tasked with in this role, and it could give you an idea of the kind of questions that come up, the kind of things that you're going to be asked to carry out in this exam. And now all the different aspects of this role relate to the key learning outcomes, otherwise known as the core activities that underpin the OCS exam. And these are effectively the different topic areas that you could be assessed on. Each of them has a different weighting, and each of them has content that relates to the different OT exams. So let's get them up on the screen for you right now. And so there they are. You can now see we have these different learning outcomes or core activities, sometimes they are referred to, on your screen. And like I've just mentioned, these are the different areas that you could be assessed on in this exam. So firstly, activity A, we have costing. Now this is obviously a P1 topic. Think about absorption costing, activity-based costing, all the different types of costing methods, their benefits, their drawbacks. Those are the kind of things you're going to have to be assessed on in this area, and this one is worth 12 to 18%. And B, we have another P1 topic. This time it is budgeting, worth a little bit more, this one, 17 to 25%. So you think about the different ways that you can do budgeting within a business, their different advantages and disadvantages. Those are the kind of things that you may be assessed on in this area. Then at C, we have performance analysis. Now this is a P1 topic, but it's also an E1 topic, and it is worth 17 to 25%. So you've got to get thinking about things like KPIs, the different ways that you can analyze the success of a business as a whole, or maybe different components of a business, or different people within a business, all the different ways that you can analyze performance. Then on to D, we have financial reporting standards. And under this one, also we have ethics, governance, those kinds of things. This one is worth 12 to 18%, and it covers a lot of the content that you're going to know from F1. On to E now, we have information that supports short-term decision-making. So this links into what we've just discussed when we were reading through the paragraph above, producing information that's going to support short-term decision-making and help those above you, the managers, the directors, to make their more long-term strategic or tactical or managerial level decisions. And then we have F, which is working capital management. So think about your receivables and payables, how you manage them. And this one is worth 7 to 13%. And you're going to probably remember already, but these are topics that come up primarily in F1. And so those are your core activities, your learning outcomes, everything that you may be assessed on in this exam. So bear these in mind as you go through the pre-scene. Think about the kinds of questions that you could be asked that relate to these different learning outcomes, and you can also use these to help guide your studies. You can pick out the areas that are weighted a little bit heavier, so look at maybe budgeting, performance analysis, short-term decision making. These are the areas that are weighted slightly higher, so you're probably going to have slightly more of your marks that are going to be won in these areas. But do this with caution. It is really important. I cannot emphasize this enough, that you need to learn all of these learning outcomes. You need to have a broad range of knowledge going into this exam, because you never know what you're going to be asked. And every single one of these core activities has a sizable percentage attached to it. So make sure you know all of them. Make sure your knowledge is nice and broad. And so that is all we can gather from this Your Role section. Now it's time to scroll down, and we're going to take a look at this introduction to the pre-scene. Now this will give us a more detailed background on the company, on Meals at Home. It's going to tell us the story behind Meals at Home. So let's see what we can pull from this introduction that is going to help us in our exam. So let's start at the start with our first sentence. Meals at Home is a company that sells meal kits direct to customers through a digital subscription service. And so those are the 2 points that I want to highlight from this first sentence. Meals at Home is a company that sells directly to customers. So it's not using a third party in order to reach its customers. It's going directly to them. Now this is going to bring a lot of benefits, i.e. brand control. They can control the way that their brand is perceived by customers, at least to a greater extent than they would if they were selling through a more indirect means. It also allows them to build relationships with customers. Their communication is going directly between the customer and the company. There's no third party between that is intermediating these discussions, which is going to make it easier for them to build customer relationships and build up some loyalty between them and their customers. It's also going to allow them access to customer data. When customers are registering with the company, purchasing directly from Meals at Home, they're going to have to put in their contact details, their address, details that can be used for marketing purposes in order to help retain customers or sell more products. And then we have our second point in this sentence. It is a digital subscription service with recurring payments. Now, this could have implications for working capital management. We're going to discuss that in much more detail in a later video in the series. The fact it's digital as well, maybe that has implications for the kind of customers that this company are targeting. Customers that are perhaps a little less familiar with digital technology, i.e. maybe elderly customers. Maybe not the type of customer segment that Meals at Home are going to be targeting, since they are using a digital subscription service. And furthermore, the fact that it's a subscription service means that customer retention is going to be a key focus for this company, because they are going to want those subscription payments to keep coming in. They want to stop people cancelling their payments. So let's move on and see what exactly is a meal kit. Well, a meal kit includes ingredients for a single meal and for a set number of portions of that meal, and the recipe card which gives instructions on how to prepare and cook the meal at home. Nice little pun there, meal at home. So this just explains what exactly the product is that Meals at Home are selling. So they're sending a box containing ingredients for a meal, including a recipe card, and the customers can use this recipe card to put together this meal themselves. So it might be worth thinking about why a customer would want to use this product. They may save time. It's going to be very convenient for them. Why might they use this kind of service? And the company is based in Newland. Now, this is not a real country, obviously, it's a pretend company, but the Prescene is going to tell us a little bit about this company. It's a company in Europe which uses N dollars as its currency. So it's in Europe, meaning there is going to be a lot of large economies surrounding Newland. And there may be some implications for this. Perhaps there are larger companies situated in these other countries that could look to expand into Newland, a potential threat for Meals at Home there. Also, the fact that they are using the N dollar as their currency rather than the euro, which the vast majority of countries, or at least a significant amount of countries in Europe use, mean that if they were to begin selling in another country, they may have to factor in exchange rates. There would be an element of economic risk associated with that kind of move. So not a major point on the exchange rates front, but something that is worth considering regardless. Now, Meals at Home was founded in 2012, and if you watched the industry video, you'll know that a lot of rival companies were also founded around this time, the likes of Gusto, HelloFresh. Some big companies that Meals at Home could potentially find themselves competing with were also founded around this same time, which is indicative of the fact that around this time was when the growth in the industry really began to take off. And Meals at Home was founded by Ben Jonas and Ravi Smit. We will be revisiting them a little later. In 2010, both young professionals working in the capital city of Newland in marketing and IT. So they have backgrounds in marketing and IT. This is stuff that we are going to be discussing later when we delve a little more into the kind of management and director structure of the business. So they found themselves eating takeaways and convenience foods despite having an interest in cooking and eating healthy. So this is kind of the idea behind the business. It's for people who like cooking, they like eating healthy, nutritious food, but they just don't have the time because maybe they're too busy with work, maybe they're too busy with family, could be loads of reasons. So it's all about convenience, it's all about saving time and helping people to consume the kind of foods they want without wasting their time preparing them. And in 2011, they tried a meal kit service, and they liked the convenience, as I've just been discussing, but they were not impressed with the variety of the meals and the quality of the ingredients. So maybe we get thinking here about some kind of unique selling points behind Meals at Home. Maybe there's a focus on variety. Maybe there's a focus on the quality of ingredients, since these are the things that Ben and Ravi didn't find satisfying about the meal kit services that they tried previously. So these could be key focuses with regards to the product being produced by Meals at Home. But I'm sure as we continue through this pre-scene, we are going to uncover more about the product itself as well as how the business functions. But that brings us to the end of this first video in this pre-scene analysis series. I hope you've enjoyed the video. I hope you found it helpful. And I hope to see you in the next part of this series where we're going to be continuing through this introduction and through the Prescene document as a whole.
Now, while I've got your attention at the end of this video, I'd like to make you aware of the other products that Astranti sell as part of the case study course. So the first of these is a series of study text and tuition videos, and these come in two flavors. You have our written study text if you prefer learning through reading, or you can watch our videos if you're more of a visual learner. Now to start with, we have an exam technique study series, which breaks down how to succeed at various case study levels. We'll be looking at exam technique, writing style, and planning that you need to nail to be successful in your case study exams. And to accompany this, we also have a revision series dedicated to the theory side of things. This is because at the case study level, there is a large amount of theory you need to be capable of using in your case study exam. So what we've done here is we've taken the key areas of the theory from the 3 case study levels and condensed them into a series of chapters to help focus your revision. Moving away from the more generic products and onto the products that are specific to the case study Prescene, the first of these is the Prescene analysis video series. First and foremost, this contains a series of videos where we break down the relevant Prescene at the appropriate level of the qualification, page by page. And throughout this video, we bring out all the key points that could be relevant for you in your exam, looking at various topics and things you might need to consider when revising for the case study. And then to supplement the Prescene analysis, we also have 2 videos. We have the strategic analysis where we give a broad overview of what kind of strategy the Prescene company is using and where it might be going in the future. And then we also look at the top 10 issues that we think this Prescene company might be subject to and something that you may need to take into consideration when revising for the case study. We then provide an industry analysis document and accompanying video. CIMA like to see you demonstrate wider industry knowledge in your exam, and this is what this industry analysis does, as it gives you the wider industry knowledge you need in order to fulfill this requirement. Essentially what it is, it's a large document that we've compiled on all the relevant industry information that we have gathered so that you don't have to do the revision yourself. And then to accompany this, we of course have a video that goes over this document to pick out some of the key points for you if you prefer that. We also produce a number of mock exams for every sitting. We write 5 mock exams for the first exam sitting, and then we add 2 more supplementary mocks for the second exam sitting. We design these mocks around the specific issues relevant to the Prescene and make them as close to the real thing as you will see in the case study exam as possible. So these are a great way to practice your exam technique and test your knowledge of the Prescene company under timed conditions. And then to add value to this product, we also offer a marking and feedback service. So we have a range of highly skilled finance professionals working as freelance staff for us, and it is these staff that provide the marking and feedback service. So this is a great service to use in conjunction with our mock exams, as it gives you a great idea of how you're progressing in the areas you need to work on for your case study exam. And then if you're in need of extra exam practice, we also provide a more generic question pack product. So obviously there are only so many questions you could write about on a specific Prescene. So what this question pack is a series of generic questions on generic scenarios that we come up with at Astranti, whereby we look to test specific topics that come up regularly in the case study exam. So if there is a particular topic you are struggling with and we've only tested once in our mocks, and you'd like more practice on it, then these question packs will be a great product for you to turn to. The penultimate product on this list is a product for those of you who would like to get a full overriding picture in terms of your revision all at once, and these are our masterclasses. So these are our expert tutors who hold 2 masterclasses every exam sitting, and these essentially cover all key aspects that you're going to need to know for your relevant exams. So from particular theories to analyses of the Prescene, all the way through to tips and tricks you can use in your exam. And finally, such is the confidence we have in the quality of our product that if you do purchase a full course from us and you unfortunately do not pass your exam using our product, then we will offer what we call a pass guarantee. So if you did not pass your exam after purchasing our full course, then you will receive the materials for the next exam sitting free of charge. And if you want to follow us and get in contact with us concerning the case study or any other matter, you can follow us on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, and YouTube.